Goa Sunsplash, fire!
Okay, my name is Benjamin, or aka Dub Fx.
I'm Sahida Apsara.
So,
Sometimes Dub Fx.
can you tell us a little bit about your background, how you got started? You have a pretty interesting story about how your career kind of launched, right?
Well, if I went into every single moment of my life, I think has led to me doing what I do anyway. So it'd be, where do you draw the line, you know what I'm saying? But I think the incremental moment was when I went over to the UK and I was making kind of world music with a loop station, because that's the only reference I had of like looping your voice, because like Bobby McFerrin or these guys in Australia called Mal Webb, it's like all this kind of stuff that was very world music sounding. Got to Manchester and all these kiddies on the street were like, play some grime. I'm like, what is grime? I'd never heard of grime. 2006. And they're showing me on their phones and I'm like, I can try and beatbox that. There was actually kids there that could already beatbox stuff and I just looped them and they all rapped on my microphone. And I was like, okay, I guess I've got to learn how to do that. And then this is 12 years later of that pretty much.
And you spent quite a bit of time in India, I understand. You've been here a few times, worked with local musicians. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Totally. Well, we've both been to, oh, by the way, so my wifey, Sahida, she's an amazing poet, actually, a really incredible lyricist, writes incredible, beautiful music, and an amazing dancer as well. And so we just kind of met like 2 years ago. Is that what happened?
3 years ago.
3 years ago. Is it 3 years?
That's not really a question though.
I know. I went on a tangent. Anyway.
Yeah, so I'd like to hear a little bit about some of the work you've done specifically, both of you, with Indian musicians.
Yes. So, okay, well, she came and learned classical dance here in India. I've done stuff with like Mahesh, Vikanak, oh man, I always mess his name up. Mahesh Vinake, Mahesh, let's just say Mahesh, I get that wrong every time.
You did I saw a video of actually.
He's amazing, he's my man.
On the rooftop thing, right?
That's it. I also work with a guy called Sibia Khan. Every time I come to India, they're like just putting me up with like these different classical musicians. They didn't even tell me in advance. I get there and they're like, okay, this guy's gonna be playing the sarangi and singing with you. I'm like, okay, for like a song? They're like, no, for the whole set. I'm like, okay, let's do it. And that's basically how I worked with them. And then the second time around was Mahesh.
I love that he just has an openness to everything that comes. Just really goes with the flow, and I think that's why it always comes out really organic and really beautiful and really heartfelt, because you're just like, all right, let's do it.
Totally, man. I'm there to learn. Well, it's like going back to what happened in Manchester. I got there and these kiddies on the street taught me what they wanted. And I learned how to do that. And then I go to India and it's the same kind of experience, you know what I mean?
Are you planning on doing some recording this time while you're here?
Yeah, we're planning on doing a couple of dub plates with some of the crews that are here. Like, you know, if they give me like their time, then I can totally make that happen. I'd love to do that.
Wonderful. And you spent some time in Jamaica as well with some very well-known artists.
We went on a honeymoon to Jamaica. So that was wicked. And what happened there, baby? Help me.
Well, he had this vision of doing dub plates with all the Jamaican artists. So we had to go there and really acclimatize with Jamaica as a culture, because we both really revere Jamaica as a country, as a culture, as a movement. And so we got there and we just soaked it all up, and then we got some connections and reached out to the artists that we respected the most.
And those who would actually reply.
Yeah, and made it happen, really. Yeah, just Ben dropped all of his beats and, created it live on the spot, and they just sang and did their thing over the top, and it was really seamless. And most of the time it's just 1 or 2 takes, right?
Most of the time it was 1 take. I don't think I ever did 2 takes of anything. I didn't do any 2 takes, actually, all in Jamaica.
Yeah.
That's in the West, where everyone got to the second take.
Yeah.
In Jamaica, it's like 1 take and I'm out of here. There's one amazing dub play with this guy, Steve Machete, and I didn't realize at the time because I was smoking their ganja and I sort of lost track of time while I was making the beat for him. And I realized when I watched the video later on that I went way longer than I was supposed to. It's a dub play. He's just meant to, it only has to be 2 minutes for a good dub play, right? But I went on for like 5 minutes. And at the end of the tune, he's like, all right, safe. And like while the beat's still rolling, he just walks out of the room. I was like, oh, it was great. They're super sick, super talented people, and like super raw, like raw. The only other, in fact, the feeling I got in Jamaica was like a more intense version of Manchester. Manchester's the closest thing I've ever felt to like Jamaica, maybe Brazil as well, like some parallels, a bit like that.
So we were talking a little bit earlier before the interview about your experience as a musician, and you said that you had left the music industry for a while and came back.
Yeah.
And some of the sort of things you experienced as a woman. I'd love to hear a little bit more.
Yeah, well, I was just, as a woman starting out in the industry, and when you don't create your own music, you're so dependent on producers to help you create the sound, and and I have lots of ideas and passion with it, but I can't quite explain myself. So I really need someone who's there, who feels where I'm coming from, and is invested in the vision and invested in me. But very often I felt that they were just there for the money. They're just there to make money from like a, aspiring female singer-songwriter, and it just
Not put their heart into it.
yeah,
maybe.
and it was a really disempowering experience, and so I just decided to just leave it and work on my poetry and feel like I could have autonomy over my own creation. I didn't need to depend on anyone, and I can use my voice, I can have my messages, I can just work on my craft as a poet. And that was what I was doing for a really long time, and getting, to a really good place with it until I met him, and he's like, "Oh, that's dope! You wrote that."
When I met her, I'm like, she's like, "What do you do?" She's like, "I'm a poet." I'd never heard anyone actually say to me, like, that's what they did. I'm like, that's not a job. In my head, I didn't say that. But it turns out it is. She gets flown around the world to do poetry, actually, you know what I mean? Like, she's been all over the world for that stuff and paid, you know what I mean? So that I'm like, okay, that's a professional. You can say you're a poet, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and because in my heart I've always loved music, but I've never known how to create the kind of music that moves me to put onto my lyrics. And then when I met him, he's all about empowering people, with his own music, be it on the streets. Like, it's not a gag, it's like the real thing. And I knew that from personal experience, because he's like, he really feels the message in my words, and he wants to bring that out to a wider audience. So it was just easy to just not feel intimidated, and just music became really fun, and then we're still doing that now.
Beautiful. So what does 2019 have in store for you guys musically?
Well, you're gonna be we're parents, right? So she's mama, but like
First and foremost,
at the moment, right? But she's only 2, so in a couple of years she'll be able to look after herself, right? She's with her.
Performing with you.
No, well, she will be totally, right? I'm gonna teach her to be my sound girl, so I don't have to pay my sound. No, I love my sound girl. So 2000, exactly. Want some pocket money? All right. So 2019, I'm making a new album, but my label, I'm working with a label for distribution called Membrane. They're wicked, they're great. They even did Anderson .Paak's album for Europe, the Malibu. They distributed that, and I was like, okay, sweet. But they want to put it out in 2020. So unfortunately, it'll be finished midway through this year, my new album, but it won't be out till next year, like February time.
Yeah.
But we'll be touring the world, so we're always on the road.
Yeah, we're so lucky because Ben's built a studio at home. So if something happens and we get called to create something, it doesn't take too much effort to just go and put it down. So it's like a daily process. Like, it doesn't have to be like, oh, this is my creation time. Whenever it comes to us, we can just go and put it.
She's amazing, because I spend like most of the day. I get in the mornings with baby. I like take her to the park on a swing and for breakfast and stuff. And then she goes off, does her F45, and then like around 2:00 we switch.
That's like a gym training.
And
he has baby time when I go to the gym.
Yeah, and then we'll hand her over, and then I'm in the studio till dinner time. So it's like every day, that little balance of the two things. You get your time, I get my time. It's actually better. It's more productive than having the whole day and nobody there to care for, because you're just like, well, I might just get stoned and do nothing.
It forces you into time management.
Yeah, totally, right?
We're more productive when we became parents.
I'm actually always been productive. So have you, man. That's a lie. Like, being parents has only made it harder to be productive, but
Despite being parents.
Well, making it harder, that little bit of hardship is what kind of makes it more like better as well to do. Like, you feel focused. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Well, you're just like more inspired as well.
Yeah, it's like when you're raising a child and you're pursuing your dreams. And
okay, let's not boast. Come on.
No, but it's not independent of the two. Because it's actually really hard to have a child and still give to yourself and look after yourself. It's just the reality, but
yeah, man, it's a good perspective to have.
So what do you think of Goa Sunsplash? Like, this is your first Goa Sunsplash?
My first Goa Sunsplash. I love it. I love it, man. Well, I'm really good friends with the people that put this on. So the whole party, I've known these people for maybe 8 years or something like that. So it's cool to see these guys grow. Like the festival, to know, like when I played with the Reggae Rajas, like in Delhi a bunch of times, you know, over the years, and to see how they've got this festival rolling, it's awesome, man. It's pro, it's on the level, and everyone's really chilled. There's no stress. Everything's happening freely and properly, and yeah.
For me, it's amazing that they have been able to draw Indian crowd as well as the tourists and the foreigners, and it's balanced. Because a lot of the times, you know, the marketing or the collaboration and doesn't feel balanced, but with this festival it really does, you know. And it's just great to see like lots of brown people and lots of white people and Asian people, just love and unity. That's what it's about, right? And you really see that represented on the dance floor. And
Totally.
yeah.
And it's like also in other, like in Australia, for example, I've been to festivals where there's cops everywhere and they're always pulling kiddies up, and like all these, basically these kids at these festivals, like techno parties and stuff, and they basically see the cops, so they take all their drugs and then they go and jump into the lake head first into a rock, you know what I mean? Like, because they're just like, it's just like their presence freaks everyone out and everyone just doesn't behave normal, you know what I mean? It's hard to be just, you know what I mean? Like, so here, it doesn't have that. Everything's just like relaxed, chilled. There's no bullshit. It's just like good vibes, sunshine, coconuts, coconut trees everywhere, reggae music, and just people who want to have a good time.
And sunshine.
All of it. It's just perfect. I guess as artists as well, we get to have the best version of this festival because we're staying right in the middle at this beautiful...
And I think when the organizers come with that vibe
Yeah.
themselves, they're able to manifest that into the festival that they want to create, and they really did that.
Yeah, man, they're all super cool people that put this festival on, and I don't see it ever going to shed, to be honest. That was a bit harsh to say that like that, but I got nothing.
Excellent. Anything else you want to add, or we'll just wrap it up?
Just good vibes, and it's just amazing to be a part of it, and we're really, really grateful that we've been invited.
Yes.
And to have this time together, it's really special for us. So thank
We're really grateful to have you here.
Yeah, man.
Thank you.
Man, the show last night was sick. The vibes were amazing. You know, it's not last night's show, right? The way the crowd was interacting was kind of different to like how it normally is in Europe. It's like a totally different atmosphere, and it was really good. It was really like very connected. It was great. I loved it.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that throughout your travels in India, or is it specifically last night?
Yeah, like different sort of cultures have their own way of playing, you know, receiving music. Some like countries, it's like you're like something that might work in one place doesn't work in another place, you know, and you kind of have to read the crowd. But like, yeah, for example, when I was in Brazil, I noticed that in Brazil they want to hear slow music, like funky but. Like that gets them moving. If you go, they're like, it's funny. And then it's weird. It's like, and then you start slow and you slowly build it up, and that's what gets them rolling. So like, I had to learn that the hard way. Anyway, I'm going on a tangent here, man. Let's go dance. Can we dance now?
Well, thank you guys.
Thank you for having us.
Tangent.
Goa Sunsplash, fire!